Dead Headspace. I am your host, Patrick R. McDonough. Today, Brendan LaFaro cannot join us. We have Liam Pais Hill.
Hello.
And for anyone listening on Apple Podcasts, you can also listen to us on Google Play, Spotify, Pandora, and Stitcher, amongst other platforms. Liam, you are many, many things. The way I was introduced to you was through Lex H. Jones's The Old One in the Sea. You're a musician, cartoonist, an all-around entertainer. So any way you want to take this question, have you always been an entertainer?
To be honest, yeah. I'm one of the people who just get off on, attention. So when I was a kid, it was, people saying well done for my crappy drawing or whatever. And then as an adult, it's obviously changed to likes on social media, which I know is not the coolest thing in the world ever, but,
Well, as far as music and illustrations, what came first for you?
Well, when I was a kid, I drew a lot, and I did comic strips and things. But I kind of gave it up for a long time. I had some really bad art teachers who kind of put me off of it. So when I was a teenager, I got into music like everyone does when they're a teenager. And after a little bit, I kind of picked the comic stuff back up again. This was like a 10-year gap. So it's kind of like a sandwich, like comic, music, comic.
That's pretty interesting. So let's go back to the beginning of that sandwich. Do you know? Do you have any interesting stories about when you were younger drawing? Did you have a comic book series back then?
The earliest one I can remember doing, where actually I think I found some of these when I was going through my parents' house a bit back. I was really hungry one day when I was about 7, and so I drew a comic about being food jumping into my mouth, and then I kind of made loads of characters like sweet corn, peas, and a sausage and beans and stuff. But I think all the jokes were just like either stolen from TV shows or like the Beano, or just didn't really make sense at all. It's not like something I look back and be like, oh yeah, I'm really proud of this. I was a child prodigy. It's very silly.
Well, I mean, I think it goes without saying you got a fan base now. Did it take a long time for you to find the style that you have? And for those that haven't seen your work yet, how would you describe your art style?
My general stuff, it's kind of, I don't know, I feel quite influenced by, the biggest change in my art style came to when I got into Adventure Time. And it's more like how they're happy just to constantly break rules and things. So I used to think that I had to create characters and used to have to stick in these dimensions. Their face should be in the right place and things. And then I saw Adventure Time in that style, and it really inspired me to just, you can do whatever as long as it fits. So I normally draw mouths above the eyes because I just love the way that looks. And I'm hoping it doesn't really draw attention to it either. It's not like this character's supposed to be like, malformed in any way. It's just, I don't know, it just creates a sort of manicness to the character that I enjoy doing.
I think it flows nicely. It's funny. I don't know of anyone else that has that particular anatomy, how should I word this, difference from others, but it works. It flows nicely. A cartoon or an animation that jumps to me that's doing something a little bit different, specifically with the pupils, is Rick and Morty.
Oh yeah, the little scribbles I've got.
Do you watch that show?
Yeah, I've not seen the recent series, but yeah, I've seen the first 3. Is it? It's 4 now, I think.
Yeah, they're on 4. The first 3 seasons. The third one came out during a tweet. Some fan was tweeting one of the creators like, "When's 3 coming out?" And they already knew when it was happening. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do this right now. And later that day, the show came on.
Is that the one that came out on April Fool's Day? So everyone thought that it would have been a hoax.
Yeah, that was the one where it's like Rick and Morty and his sister go to save Rick from all the other Ricks, and it's just a total epic scene of all these Ricks and these aliens fighting each other.
Yeah, I really love the designs of the aliens I've got on Rick and Morty are always really cool.
Is that something that you want to pursue at all?
What, aliens? I mean,
No.
I tried, but I kept getting shut down by the authorities, getting too close.
Yeah, so that is a good answer. If I was asking that, I should have been more clear. I know you have done some animations. I've seen at least one that you posted on YouTube. Is animation something that you want to pursue?
It's weird you've said that, actually, because the animation you're on about is the first one that I've done, like my first like very basic attempt at animation. That was like early last year, and I'm putting out the second one tomorrow. So it's like good timing to ask me about animation. But it's something I'm enjoying doing, but it's very like, I know I'm very at the bottom of the ladder at the moment as far as learning that kind of thing goes. Every time I do one, I try to find something new to help me actually improve instead of just like, shifting parts around.
What's this one about?
So I've got a comic called Slug Cafe, and it's a very creative title because it's about slugs who run a cafe, and I've done an animated version of that basically.
How long is it?
About 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, I would want to see that. I've dabbled in animation, just super silly 2D animation when I used to do YouTube videos, and it takes a long time to get very little done.
It does speed up the process if your characters are slugs, though, because they don't have mouths and they don't have legs, and so all the hard parts are kind of cut away from it.
My thing was, I guess that's true. My thing was that I used to just cut and paste our faces, me and my friends, and I would stick it on clearly silly stick figure like bodies, and it was a level right above South Park as far as quality and animation goes, but it worked for what the videos were.
That sounds fun. That sounds cool. I like combining it. I've not done it for ages, but combining photos and drawings normally quite a fun thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So as of this recording, which is June 15th of 2020, you were on a show last week, I think it was, with Joshua No. I listened to that. I think it was a week ago. Maybe two. I really enjoyed that. Thought it was interesting. Have you been on many other podcasts before?
Yeah, I've been on a fair few. I mean, I say a fair few. It's not like I'm, someone going around podcast touring or anything. I'm not like Paul F. Tompkins or all, but I have been on like 10 or so, I reckon. Me and my partner Zoe used to do a podcast as well. It was like a radio show, and then we moved it to podcast format, and then people stopped listening, so we stopped making it.
I think because I was looking through some of your stuff earlier today. I think it's on SoundCloud. There's 2 episodes.
Oh, really? I didn't know it was still up there. Yeah, because we used to have the SoundCloud subscription, but when when it lapsed, we didn't bother redoing it, so I thought it'd all been taken down.
I definitely saw 2 episodes that were about an hour long per episode.
We did a music one though, so it was a bit of a hassle cause we wanted to get permission from all of the artists because you kind of should, and it kind of was more effort than it was worth, after a while to go around contacting 20 people and then waiting for the responses, and then it kind of dipped pretty sharply how many people listened, which isn't a good sign from us.
Sorry to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, yeah. So I enjoy doing podcasts. I've done a few before and things. It's me and Lex. You know Lex, don't you? Lex H. Jones.
Yeah.
He's come around to my house a couple of times, and we recorded I think 2 or 3 episodes of stuff. It's just I kind of never got around to editing them and putting them out.
You should, man. I mean, like, you two are besides being friends in face to face. I don't even know how to word it anymore, man. Instead of being friends in quote unquote real life, you guys seem to have this awesome artistic connection. I love it. I think it's great. And before we go there, I just wanted to say one of the partners that helps me run my review platform, Deadhead Reviews, Elle Turpin. She wanted me to tell you, I'm just reading what she said, so I'm quoting it, that she loved the theme that you made.
Ah, cheers.
And I've had a lot of good compliments about it. I mean, like, you sent me... I like modern day Dukes, and we can get into that later if you want. And I just like your sound. It's very different. You sent me the theme, and it was the first draft that I was aware of. I'm like, okay, that's it. I sent it to my co-host, and he's like, normally I have critiques, but this is perfect. And I've had so many compliments of this theme. So basically what I'm getting at, as far as you go as an artist, you've done a lot of different things. Is this the first time you've done a theme song?
No, I've done a few for other friends' podcasts, and like I said, me and Zoe used to have a radio show and things, and so I did it for that. I used to have different segments as well, so I do a little theme for all of them, like any excuse to try to squash a bit of music into something.
Are you gonna end up working on those episodes with Lex?
Maybe. I really was going to at the start of Isolation. I thought it'd be a good little project, but like you said earlier, I do lots of different things, and it's easy for me to start stuff, and then it just ends up being like stuff stacked on top of it, and then it kind of gets lost. So you need to dig out these, make them unlost. Found, that's the word, not unlost, found.
How long ago did you guys record an episode?
I think it was last year. I think of 2019.
Oh, okay. So that's not even that long ago. Yeah. Well, what's stopping you, man? Besides doing a million things.
Yeah, I'm trying to limit myself to 3 projects at a time at the moment. So I've just finished the Slug Cafe animation, so there's a project hole that needs filling now. So I might make that a little project to fill the project hole.
I hear you. I got a few projects myself. The podcast is one of them, and we have 5 episodes this and next week, so that's a lot of fun stuff to cram in there at the same time.
Yeah.
So back to you and Lex. I would like to explore one more thing. Is the Old One in the Sea? I know you've talked about it a lot. Lex did too on my show. I'm not really asking you to go into the history of that book, but more so about you guys. How did you guys hook up?
So Lex has these parties pretty regularly, like these dues that he puts on, and a mutual friend. I'm not sure if it was like I'd met Lex very briefly at a gig, and a mutual friend of ours, KC, from a band called Idle Dead. I'm pretty sure he asked Lex if I could pop down because we actually live very close to each other. And so I went to that and had a good time. Met Lex, met all his buddies, and then, kind of developed from there. We both, do, like I say, creative things. And when you meet people who do stuff, normally your first instinct is about, we should do something together. And so that's how we ended up doing it, really.
Well, I think it's a good partnership. Besides the Old One in the Sea, have there been any previous collaborations?
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know if it's previous. It might have been a bit after. But I do a comic called Cobweb Galaxy. I've done one normal issue, and then Lex has written it's like the diary of one of the characters in the comic, but the character's really arrogant and like has a warped view of reality because he thinks he's really important. And so Lex has kind of done it from the point of view of this really egotistical character, and it's really funny. I think Lex told me that he's never written something to be funny before. I'd never written comedy before, and so obviously I was, I didn't know what it was going to be like when I got it, and I was like laughing reading it. I was really, really impressed with it. It was really cool.
I would love to know where to get my hands on a copy.
I can sort you one out if you want. We can talk after the podcast.
For sure. So I'm not asking you to go into details, but Lex has mentioned that he is doing not a direct sequel, but another book in the world of the Old One in the Sea. I believe you're the illustrator for that too.
Yeah, I believe so. We've not spoken about it for a little while because obviously writing a novel is probably the most time consuming part of the project. Like releasing a novel. I don't know if that's information to your listeners, but writing a book, when a book's released, writing it's the hard part. I was pretty shocked myself as well, because
Yeah.
I personally thought that they just sat at Word, typed it all out, and it spent an afternoon on it. But apparently, an author is a hard thing, and I didn't realise that. So when he's done it, then he'll come to me and he'll be like, "Can you spend an afternoon knocking up some doodles, please?" And I'll be like, "Yes, Lex, I will."
Yeah, I thought that, like, as an author, I thought they just like sit there and like, they either think of it and it just writes itself, or you pay someone and you just say you did it.
Well, the thing is, if you think of it like this, I can write a text message or a Facebook message in 3 seconds, and writing a book is just doing that about 3,000 times. And I can't do the maths, but I reckon that'll at least take a long weekend.
All right, so I'm gonna write a book on my phone, and then as far as like being an illustrator goes, I can just get like Microsoft Paint, right?
Yeah, it's good thing, but Paint. Do you have this might be a British thing, but do you know Jim Will Paint It?
No, what is that?
It's like a bit of a viral, I suppose, artist, who he takes submissions and he just draws them on Paint. But he's been doing it for a few years now, and he's now such a good person at drawing on Paint that it just looks like flawless art. It's absolutely beautiful pieces of work he does. Normally, like, overly complicated as well, because people submit ideas and they say, like, I want to have the Prime Minister and Ronald McDonald fighting in a ring full of jam, and everybody from the cast of Allo Allo is watching them, or something like that. And he'll do it in Paint, and it'll be absolutely beautiful. So you can do amazing art in Paint if you're
Holy
an amazing
shit.
artist.
Are you fucking kidding me? I'm looking. I just Googled it. By the way, not to be snarky or whatever, but I thought you said Jim will paint it. Jimmel is one word. JIMLL.
Yeah.
Paint it.
Well, it's like apostrophe LL, so it's like Jim Will Paint It. It's because there was a TV show over here called Jim Will Fix It, but between him starting doing Jim Will Paint It and right now, the person who does Jim Will Fix It, Jimmy Savile, was revealed to be a paedophile. So it's a bit strange it's still using that title, but yeah, so it's JIM apostrophe LL.
This is all in Paint? Are you fucking kidding me?
No, apparently so.
I'm looking at one where it's like a bunch of pop culture references.
It's just pop culture clusters. It's a
Rambo playing an electric keyboard and next to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And this looks this looks like something that would be in Lex's house, and I only know that because he posts so many goddamn pictures of his awesome collections of shit, and it's all this stuff. There's a few questions I got from what we were just talking about. Now, ever since I joined the horror community, writing community, back in 2013-14, I first was introduced somehow, I don't know why, the British, the UK, not just British, the UK authors and editors, publishers, and whatnot. And I started picking up on a lot of differences between UK slang and American slang. Have you talked and interacted with a lot of Americans, or have you ever talked to another American besides me?
Yeah. I've got family in America. Got some relatives that moved out there who come back often, and my brother married an American. We went over there to Philadelphia for the wedding and things. So
special.
Been to plenty of met loads of Americans. I've met more Americans than I know that I've met. I've probably met upwards of 12 Americans in my life. Lots of Americans.
I just gotta state this so no one messages me. I'm fucking joking. I know I'm not the only American he's met. But on a serious note, like, that's funny. You went to Philly. I'm about 45 minutes away from there.
Ah, cool. Oh yeah, because I saw it popped up where it said where you're from, and that's where we stayed, because me and some of my brother's friends kind of had a bit of a road trip across that side of the country. So Yeah, I've been to New Jersey and New York and and a little town called Intercourse, which we went past.
In Pennsylvania.
Fun end. Yeah. Wait,
Oh
was it
man.
Philadelphia, the wedding, or was it just somewhere in Pennsylvania? Oh
Well,
no. I hope my family don't read this and get mad at me now, but it was almost exactly 10 years ago and I don't have that sort of memory.
so okay, Intercourse, PA is right near Birmingham, PA, which is in Amish country.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they're all around the buggies and stuff. It was amazing. Really
I
interesting place.
I don't know how far away that is from Philly. It's in the same state, but that's an interesting part of the world. I have never been around Amish people besides the one time my wife and I went there.
Mm. You went to Intercourse?
That's how I got a baby. Oh, yeah, I did go to that town, and it was kind of cool. Like we brought my dog. It actually inspired a novella that may never see the light of day, but I had at least two friends read it. And oh, you know what? I actually submitted it to Sinister Horror Company. I don't know, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. Got rejected because it was not very good. But
Was that the feedback that you were just like, hey, can I have some feedback to make my novella better? And they went, oh, could you just make it a little less not very good, please?
yeah, well,
that
that's how it started. Justin Park, super sweet guy. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna pretend I'm an American right now. You suck. I'm taking off the polite mask. It's not good at all. The words don't sound right. It's just bad.
Oh, wait, did you really say that?
No, he did not.
I don't know.
No.
I'm not part of that community. I don't know if people are just brutal.
God, no, man. I'm kidding. Justin Park is a super nice guy. He's actually giving me he's taken time out of his day to give me some actually good feedback on a story before. No, God, I'm being very dry on my sense of humor. I apologize for anyone that thinks I'm being serious. But it was kind of cool. We brought our dog when we were in PA, and we were on a buggy ride, and that was the first time my dog has ever seen livestock, cows and sheep and whatnot.
Yeah.
Her reaction was killer. It was hilarious. But what was your experience like over there? Was that the first time you went to America?
I've been to like Disneyland. I've been to America I think 3 times now. First time I've been on a so touristy places, so that was quite nice. Everywhere I went, it's really nice. And no one could place our accents though. They always thought we were Australian. Yeah, good. So America gets my seal of approval, so you can start putting that on your money now.
Hey Liam, sorry, I'm just gonna cut this part. You just lagged a shitload, and I couldn't make out anything you said. Would you mind just repeating that answer?
I can't remember what I said.
I'm being super serious. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, our internet keeps being really bad. Like as in, it just goes through a couple of periods every couple of days where I can't even stream Netflix. It's really, really frustrating, to be honest. We need to sort it out.
That sucks.
I'm back to normal now.
So yeah, just if you don't mind repeating like your experience in America, if you don't mind saying that.
Found lots of really lovely people there. Everywhere we went, we found people who were willing to come and chat with us and things. Not many people could place our accent. They always thought we were like Australian, I think. Maybe it was pre Game of Thrones, so the Yorkshire accent hadn't made it to America at that point. But yeah, it gets my seal of approval, which you can start printing on your money from this point onwards. I expect to see In God We Trust, America, United States, as approved by Liam Pais Hill.
I'm all for that, man. So Lex actually told me his accent, if in Game of Thrones, it would be Jon Snow's. That would be yours as well too, wouldn't it?
Well, the guy who plays Ned Stark lives near us. He's the sort of person where everyone says they've seen him. Sean Bean, everyone's seen him in pubs and stuff. So that's our accent. That's what we speak like. If you can't tell from the podcast, which is a recording of my voice.
Oh, you're not a Southerner from America?
Not a Southerner from America. I'm not from America at all. I'm from England. I thought we discussed this a couple of times already. I'm sorry if you were confused. No, so there's this really little country, but it's a really little country that thinks a lot of itself, just east of you guys. And I live like in the middle of that. It's very cold. It rains a lot. And we both are very prideful and hate ourselves at the same time. It's a fun place. You should try it sometime. It's interesting in England.
Oh, it sounds awful. I would love to go there. As far as Sean Bean goes, I actually am a big fan of his. At first, to my knowledge, the first time I saw him was Boromir in Lord of the Rings. I love that movie, the trilogy. I love the books, but then I saw him in Silent Hill. Then I saw him in Game of Thrones. I'm like, you know what? This guy dies a lot, but I like him.
If I see him, I'll tell him. I'll be like, I spoke to this guy, Patrick. He says he likes you. And he'll go, nice one. I just nodded, but you can't see that on the podcast. But it would be more about how he nods in response rather than what he says. His nod will be more communication than the language he uses. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Like, I hope you just saw me winking. I
did. I could hear it. It was like this. Just heard like a little flap of skin hitting another flap of skin.
Like this?
Yeah, yeah. That's how you wink.
Oh, come on, Lex. Liam, I just saw Lex in my notes. Sorry, buddy. I mix you two up. You both look so and talk so similarly.
Oh, Lex with his shoulder-length pink hair. It looks
I was waiting for you to say something. I was trying to think. I was coming off like an asshole. So, you are currently in 3 bands that I'm aware of. Modern Day Dukes is one of them.
Yeah.
So, back to the whole thing of you juggling a lot. 3 bands is a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fair amount.
Well, could you tell us a little bit about those bands? I know, like I said, Modern Day Dukes is one. How about we break it down into that? Modern Day Dukes, tell us a little bit about how that started.
So that started as basically I just recorded an EP and got friends in to come and fill in my gaps in musical knowledge. So got my friend Martin to come in and play drums, and I didn't think I knew many of the other members. I think I just asked on Facebook if anybody fancied joining me, and from that it kind of spawned a band with a proper lineup and things. And it's kind of shifted a lot since then. So it started as like a 5-piece guitar, vocals, kind of a pretty standard setup. And then we lost a couple of members, and it's ended up now being 2 basses, a keyboard, and a drummer. So it's pretty weird sounding. Like a bit of noisy stuff, love a bit of feedback or guitar pedals that just screech, that kind of thing.
Well, I like it. I like the chorus in the latest album that I've heard, the one with the milk carton on it.
Oh yeah, 100% full fat noise.
What are your other 2 bands?
I'm in a band called Silverjet, which I've been in since I was 20, and I'm 32 now. So that's a long time to be doing anything ever. And that's like more of a rock band. It's hard to discuss genres, but I think just rock, and I'm in a pop band called Caroline and the Lights, which is kind of more piano led, a bit more commercial style.
Do any of those bands vary as far as gigs and whatnot, or do any of the bands ever focus on? Is it more gigs that you focus on, or is there any chance to maybe submit something to a soundtrack?
Well, gigs is like the best way to find new people, or find new people who might be interested in your music, because you're basically forcing somebody to sit and listen to you. Whereas like recording stuff and sharing it online, it's hard to get anybody to even listen to like a 3-minute song. But that's why people like playing gigs, because if you're there in a pub anywhere, you're going to see another band or whatever, you can you can actually show somebody music. You can actually be like, this is what we sound like. Do you like us? Not just try to get somebody to play that play button, which is a lot harder. But yeah, I mean, as far as submitting stuff to soundtracks, it's not really something really considered with anyone, I don't think.
Does Sean Penn listen to you guys at pubs?
Sean Penn?
I mean, I meant Sean Bean.
I doubt it. I think Silverjet have been on, these digital jukeboxes you get.
Yeah.
I think they've been on local ones of them. So there's a chance that Sean Bean might have heard us. But to be honest, can't really comment.
Will Sean Penn also be a fan of Silverjet?
I'll tweet at Sean Penn to see if he'll check us out. But like I said, that's the hard part. I'll try to get to a gig that is at and play for him instead.
Let me compose myself for a minute. Life during quarantine has been pretty interesting for all of us. Now, for you, I don't know if I've ever caught this before quarantine. I don't think I have, but with you personally, I've noticed a lot of, I don't even know what you call them, man. Just like short videos.
Yeah, I'm just bored all the time. That's, if anyone asks me like why I do comics and I'm in 3 bands and stuff, it's just I'm just painfully bored constantly. I always need to be doing things. I always need to be stimulated, and that's really bad. That I'm not bragging there. That's not a comfortable place to be in. And so if I've got like, you can do a little stupid video and share it with your friends in 10 minutes. So that's why I do really, 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 really short podcasts and What's in Frank Snapper. It's not really much. I don't think I really put them anywhere public. They're mostly just on my Facebook page for my friends.
So Frank Snapper, I imagine that derives from Frank Zappa.
Yeah, there was a stool shaped like a crocodile that I saw in a charity shop, and I passed it in the window, and I just thought about it for absolutely ages, and I really, really wanted to buy it. And so I made a point to go back there and buy this stool shaped like a crocodile. And then me and Zoe were thinking of names, because it had to be a pun name. Yeah, you got to name your stools. You name your stools, right?
You know what? They're not very punny, but I do have some names for them.
That's good. Yeah, well, that's important.
That's the best I got.
You need to personalise your furniture, otherwise it gets depressed. Anyway, so Zoe came up with Frank Snapper, and I think that might be literally the first idea, and I just found it really funny. So it's Frank Snapper.
Better than my stool. Mine is
what's your stool called?
It's just called the bitch seat where I sit.
All right. Is it really little, or is?
It's just because I'm a bitch, so I sit there.
Do you want to tell me more about your stool? Because I'm intrigued now. Because I've learned its name, and now I need to know a bit of its history and a bit of its backstory. You know what I mean?
I found it in the back of some rundown bar in Atlantic City. Has a hole in it, so it's pretty uncomfortable to sit in. And then the kids in the neighborhood. Sorry, go ahead.
So you thought, this stool's really uncomfortable. I'll take this home. I really like this.
Made sense to call it the bitch seat.
So you was the pub open, or was it like a shut down pub, or how did you end up taking a stool from a pub? Do you nick it?
Well, there was only like 3 walls up, and there was no lights or doors or anything. So I just saw furniture, was like, that's mine, and then brought it home. And like I was saying, kids in the neighborhood often come by, point and laugh and say, bitch seat, bitch boy.
Is your home open so people can see as they go past? Is it like one of the walls is just entirely glass so people can see you on your seat?
I'm not sure what you mean by walls for a home.
So you said that the neighborhood kids come past you and they bully you for your stool choices.
Yes.
How do they see you on that stool? Is it outside? Is it in your garden? Okay.
Yeah, I have a tree for protection. It's the protection tree.
Okay. Well, as long as you've got a magic tree, then I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So beyond that, life during quarantine has been pretty good for me. And I actually have a computer to do a podcast at.
Cool.
Yeah. So let's move on to what is your influences for music?
Do you know the Wild Hearts or Cardiacs at all?
I wish I could say yes, but I don't.
The Wild Hearts are a band that they've been around since the 90s and still going, but they put really poppy harmony-based choruses, but in with like really heavy, sometimes like Motorhead-esque kind of riffs, and so it's like a really lovely juxtaposition. And then Cardiacs are a band that are just absolutely bonkers, and so they're my two favourite things because I love poppy choruses, I love music that you can't predict, and I love big tasty riffs. So they're my two probably favourites.
Well, I told you this, but just to reiterate so everyone else can hear, I am a big fan of Andrew WK, and when you just said like how you described that second band, for me, he's just a dude where I want to go to his concert in a Viking hat and wearing a lot of weird colors. Just get hyped up.
The band that I'm on about, Cardiacs, is kind of like the music's ridiculously like intricate, but it's also not pretentious, which is the hardest thing to do. So they'll do like weird time signatures, they'll drop the tempo and build it back up again in a chorus, and just the chord progressions are absolutely like unrecognizable. They've not just used some like usual chords people do. There'll be a set of chords in a Cardiac song that you'll probably rarely find anywhere else, if you can find them anywhere else at all. As far as like going to absolutely bonkers gigs, do you know Anti-Product at all? Or Anti-Product?
No, but I'm writing that down.
They're another band that do really poppy stuff. So we've got songs like even "Hey, let's get it up, let's get it out, let's," like, so it's like super 70s poppy stuff. But then it's got the verses are like proper metal riffs and like almost kind of operatic vocals. But they were sort of a band that like live, the singer would always wear like face paint, like a massive smile painted on his face. He'd jump into the audience. He'd do a microphone solo where he'd smash the microphone against his head till it started bleeding. He'd do a genital solo where he'd get naked and he'd spray his balls with an orange spray paint can.
The fuck?
They were just like absolutely the best live performance you'll ever see. Absolutely amazing. I highly recommend Anti-Product if you can find them anywhere. I know they're not really on Spotify and stuff, but if they're on YouTube, they're an absolutely beautiful band.
Did you in fact see his sprayed balls?
Oh yeah. You got to see his sprayed balls when he was doing it. He didn't spray his balls and then not show the audience because that'd be silly,
Do his balls like hold a water gun and then spray you with like color?
No. Sorry, I might have not explained it right. He gets his balls out and then he sprays his own balls with a can of spray paint.
Wait, hold on. I really didn't understand. Backtrack to being serious now. His balls aren't already sprayed. He sprays them in front of people during a live performance.
Yeah, as part of the gig. It was like, it was on the set list as like genital solo, I believe. It was high art. It was really fun. It wasn't pretentious high art. It sounds like it could be high art, but it wasn't. It was really just like really fun stuff.
Yeah, man. I don't know what to say to that. I can't, like, I've been to plenty of live concerts, but I've never been to one so ridiculous like that. One of the funnest ones I've been to is like Florence and the Machine. That was pretty cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she really gets into it. She just dances around the entire venue and whatnot. And have you ever watched her or listened to her music?
I have a bit, yeah. The pop band I'm in, Caroline and the Lights, the singer loves Florence and the Machine. So we're even though I've not listened to that much of her, I'm in a band that are heavily inspired by her. But I've got a few of her songs on Spotify playlists and things. I enjoy a bit of flow in the middle.
It was the only time in my life I've seen someone play a huge big ass harp in person, and it was magical. I was sober, and I'm like, I feel like I'm stoned right now. It was a really interesting way that they put on the show. This was back in 2012, so she only had 2 albums out then. And the the way she danced, the way that the music just kind of fucks with your head. It was peaceful, I guess, is the best way to put it.
All right, I thought it would be the opposite. I thought it'd be powerful, like getting blasted constantly, because she's got a really big voice, hasn't she? And the music's very rich, and there's not, it's, what's the opposite of sparse? Full, like sound, so all the EQs. I didn't think it'd be peaceful. I thought you were going to say it feels super energizing, if anything.
No, I mean, that was my experience, but as far as like booming and crazy, I saw Linkin Park live the year after at the same venue. They kicked some serious ass. I don't know if you're into them, but Chester Bennington, he was my favorite singer. And he was just the notes he hit was insane. It was like listening to a demon or an angel sing.
Yeah, he had an absolutely massive voice, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it ended. Like, I don't know how certain singers just don't do permanent damage to their vocal cords. Like, I've heard that the guy from, I forget his name, the lead singer of Avenged Sevenfold, did some permanent damage, and he has to resort to like singing as opposed to screaming at certain parts now.
It's a technique thing, I think. So that there are ways you can do shouting stuff without damaging it, but I also think there's a certain element of your natural biology. Maybe if you've not got a naturally shouty voice and you force it, that might be some reason people damage.
As far as one more shouting band goes that's in your area, Architects. Do you happen to know who they're from? Brighton?
Oh yeah, that's not near me.
Is that how far away from you are?
Almost as far as you can possibly be.
So it's not even close.
And still be in England. It's like, so we live in the north, and Brighton's like really far down south. So I mean, not that I don't listen to music once it gets too southern. Honestly, some of my favourite bands are Southerners. I'm not being like that. But I don't really know Architects, to be honest. I've not really listened to them. Not that I've got anything against them. I've just never heard any of the music.
No, it's fine. It's like screaming music. I don't know if what kind of music are you into?
I like everything. I know that normally means I don't like anything, but I think if I say I'm into it, if I say to myself I only like a certain sort of music, like I definitely did when I was younger. When I was a teenager, I'd be like, oh, I only like punk. And then when I got a bit older, I got into like more rocky music. But now I just feel like if I declare that I don't like a certain genre of music, or I only like a certain genre of music, I'll just restrict myself. Everything. I love like rap. I love electronica. I love like super poppy stuff. Bit of everything. Mix it all together.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Do you ever listen to music while you're? This might be a weird question. I'm not talking about vocal music, but while you're writing, do you ever listen to any music, like industrial or ambient music?
When I'm writing?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really sit and write very often, to be honest. Because I'm obviously I do comics and songs and things, but with songs you obviously need to be, listening to your own music or trying to form an idea out of nowhere. And with comics, it tends to be a bit more improvisational. Like I normally have an idea for a joke, because I do like mostly comic strips rather than, full books of a story. So yeah, I don't really tend to listen to much, because it tends to be something that's quite like instant.
I got you. I totally understand where you're coming from. I think you've answered this before, but High Green Dawn, what is that?
As in, where's the name from, or just what is it in general?
Both.
It's well, High Green Dawn started because I lived in a refurbished mental asylum, and the block of flats was called High Green. And the idea was it was going to be a comic about what me and my flatmates would be like after the zombie apocalypse. And this was like 2010. And around that time, just everything became zombie themed. Like you'd get like zombie themed Tetris games and like, you know what I mean? Can you remember that? That's not just me who noticed that, is it?
Oh no, I'm 31. I'm not too far behind you in age. Yeah, they definitely in the mid 2000s they definitely started picking up on zombies again.
Yeah, so I kind of dropped the zombie thing because there were, so talked about a lot. All the jokes like went straight away. People were coming up with the same ideas and things. So there's a lot less zombies in it now. And also I worked out that I couldn't really do comic about my flatmates. Then you put in words in people's mouths, and in comic strips as well, people are either like being mean quite often or being a victim quite often. And it seemed a bit unfair to be making these characters my friends rather than just, characters that anything can happen to. But then anyway, that's why it's called High Green Dawn, because it was the flat high green, and it was dawn because, Dawn of the Dead, but also a lot of other things use dawn. A lot of zombie stuff uses dawn, doesn't it? Struggling to think of any examples right now.
Like I got dawn under my kitchen sink, so there you go. There's one.
But yeah. So now it's just High Green Dawn is kind of what I use for my general comic things. For me, it's in a universe with rules and law and stuff, but because they're gag strips, it doesn't really come into play that often. So
that's interesting that you said that you don't really want to put words in your friends' mouths and stuff, because like I know personally from other friends, I'm a horror writer, and my other horror writers do this too. Our horror writer friends do this as well. But for example, I told one of my friends, hey, by the way, you're in my short story where your body is found and the head is found a little bit ways from the body in the trunk of a tree.
Yeah, but that's a playful thing, that, isn't it? That's like a fun thing for your friend to do. So that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, for people like us that get it's just like fiction. And then Alan Baxter came out with this book called The Rue earlier this year, and he used my name and a bunch of other names in his book. A lot of us got killed off by a killer kangaroo.
Nice. Did your character in his book have dialogue and things then? And was it described and looked like you?
No, so I only used the namesake for us. I mean, like, there was one based off Jim McLeod that had a red beard, but that was like the extent of it.
But yeah, I mean that I think I'd be completely down with like referencing my friends and things. It'd be weird if, say, a friend of yours, if they wrote a book and you're a character throughout it, you might read it and be like, I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't do that. Oh, this guy's maybe like a rape prick here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was just kind of worried about being on the other side of that, even though I don't really have an example of that happening. It's kind of just maybe a concern that I didn't need to have.
Well, let me just be clear. If I made a character of a friend and they were like a rapist or like something, like, if I wouldn't do this, but if someone wrote like a graphic scene of someone being raped, that'd be kind of weird, at least for me.
Yeah. No, yeah, that would be a really uncool thing to do to a friend.
Because right away I would think like, hey, bro, do we need to talk and like express our feelings so they're out there?
Yeah, it might be underlying discussion need to be had if you did that.
I was curious, as far as horror goes, are you a fan of horror?
Yeah, I'd say so. I wouldn't. I feel like I might open myself to questions about deep diving into stuff, but maybe I'm more of a casual horror fan than you and your crew are. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's fair. Well, I was just curious what kind. Like, do you like watching horror films, shows, play horror video games, or read horror books?
Yeah, all of them. I've read a fair few horror books, watched a lot of horror movies. I kind of don't like, and I'm sure this might be a bit of a cheesy opinion to have, but the kind of the more obvious modern horror films, which are kind of jump scares and things. I'm not super into them, so I tend to avoid them. I did go through a period of really, really liking super low budget zombie films. So I used to find stuff that was like kind of made on like no budget. It's obviously just like a bunch of mates almost made it. So I said that I didn't do zombie stuff because zombie stuff happened too often, but I actually do love taking in zombie stuff, playing zombie games, zombie computer games nonstop.
Yeah, man, those are fun. As far as zombie movies go, for me, it's like The Train to Busan was awesome. The Girl with All the Gifts, I just saw it, and I thought it was fantastic. And then 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later.
Yeah. No, they're all really cool ones. Then I saw Girl with All the Gifts last year, I think, and I thought that was nice twist. It was almost like how I Am Legend, the movie, should have gone. You know, it was like more about the passing over from humanity to a supernatural, or a monster. You know what I mean? Not really supernatural, but
Yeah, no, I don't know if, do you know that that's based off of a book?
yeah, because I Am Legend, the book, I've actually, I think I listened to an audio book of it, but
Oh.
kind of like the whole point of this stuff. I'm sure I'm not giving it away like a 50-year-old book or whatever to someone, but it's probably more than 50, isn't it? But
I forget, but it's up there. It's like at least 20 or 30 years older than me.
but the point of it is this character's like the last human, and it's actually that the vampire characters have kind of created this new society, and he's the monster. He's like the boogeyman who's killing them. Whereas the movie, I'm sure I'm not saying anything original here, but the movie kind of just made it a bit more of a generic kind of survival man hero situation. And I feel like Go with All the Gifts, it did have the kind of like twist to it where it's actually the monster characters are evolving beyond humanity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And in the book I Am Legend, they really dive into like his psyche.
Yeah.
There was this one, like you never see them, but there's this like female that always calls out for him at night, and he lusts for her a little bit, but he's like drinking, and I think he's taking pills to like cope with falling asleep at night, and it just I don't know. I don't think a film's done it that book justice yet, but as far as The Girl with All the Gifts, I haven't read that book, but the film was really great.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were talking about that when you said it was a book. I didn't know that was a book. But yeah, I enjoyed the film. It's good.
Yeah, it's got a sequel too, but I haven't, I haven't read that either. Wish we could talk more about Sean Bean, but I don't know if he wants me to talk about him anymore.
What, you don't know if I want to talk about Sean Bean, or you don't know if Sean Bean wants you to talk about Sean Bean?
Yeah, so I don't know if he wants us to talk about Sean Bean, but Sean Bean can come on here and talk with us about him if he wants sometime.
If I see him down the pub, see him down the Mulberry Tavern, actually I don't know where he hangs out. I think people do know where he hangs out, and I could find out. But I'll be like, hey, do you want to be on a Dead Headspace? And he might, who knows? So what I'm saying is I'll befriend a celebrity, and then once we're at a point where we're buddies and it's not weird to ask a favour, then I'll be like, hey, do you want to be on my other friend's podcast?
That'd be great. And then at some point, talk to George R. R. Martin. Ask him how what the secret is to getting lots of money for writing a book.
I think it's for it to be made into a TV show, isn't it?
I think it's weird how he wrote the series started in the 90s, and then the TV series finished it before he was able to finish the last two books that he promised years ago.
Yeah, do you know what? We watched that TV series right up until the last series, and then we heard about the last series, and we just never bothered watching the last finale of it. So I actually have never heard as well what happens. I don't know. All these characters I've followed for years. Really complex story. I've just kind of cut ties at that point.
My opinion, you save yourself some hassle, because as a writer, it just it's okay if there's an ambiguous ending, but like you can't have like 12 different huge things that you foreshadow events and characters, and then you just either don't mention it again, or it's just kind of like, all right, this happens and then that happens. Oh, you don't like it? Fuck you. We're on to Star Wars now.
Yeah. I kind of felt the same about lots of TV shows have a cramp last series. Dexter, that was such a good TV show, and then like it got a little downhill, but then the last series it just wrecked the whole thing. Maybe never want to rewatch it, and I'm afraid that I'll do that with Game of Thrones and all.
I think that for me personally, I liked 1 through 7. I know some people only like 1 through season 1 through 5 or whatever the show was when it was following along the books, but I I thought it was pretty interesting. There was one awesome scene in season 8 where it's the two giant brothers fight each other. That was like the only thing worth watching in season 8, in my opinion.
What, does one of them turn into a White Walker?
No.
Oh. Yeah, I have no idea how any of these stuff. A weird thing is, though, I was really worried for ages about hearing spoilers when I thought, oh, I'm going to catch up one day. And the fact that nobody's talked about it has made me kind of think, probably not worth investing the time in.
I don't know if this was like a jokey interview. It didn't look like it, but the guy that played Jon Snow, I forget, Kit Harington?
Yeah, I don't know. You know better than me.
I'm not making up that fucking name. Hold up. Let me Google it. Kit Harington. Yeah, Kit Harington. That's it. He looks weird with a mustache. Just saw a picture of him with a mustache. Well, anyways, I saw an interview with him, and he said he was asked about season 8, and he kind of like had a disappointing reaction. Don't quote me on this, but basically he was asked if he liked season 8, and he said no. Again, paraphrasing, but I don't like it. I don't know anyone that does like season 8. If you like it, that's awesome. Just as a writer and a fan, not into it. Yeah, so that's all I got. Sean Penn, your music, and Game of Thrones.
Great. They're the topics I asked to talk about. I was like, I'm not going to be in this podcast unless we talk Sean Penn, unless we talk Game of Thrones, just last series, not any of the parts. And so I'm glad we hit all the targets I was insisting upon.
Yeah. Do you think Sean Penn and Sean Bean ever hang out and then people mix their last names?
I think they definitely do. I've heard that they play in a White Stripes style power duo band called the Shawns. But it's written the Shawns, but it's pronounced the Scenes, and they do that. So they probably hang out before and after shows and things. Probably get mixed up quite often, I reckon.
You know, get the Sean, talk to both of them. I want them on the show next week.
Great. I'll get on to that straight away. As soon as we're allowed, within 2 meters of somebody, I'll get in 2 meters of Sean Bean and ask him.
I appreciate that, man, because, tell him, I like Lord of the Rings. I don't think you should have died. And where can people follow you? I'm asking you this question, not Sean Bean.
Oh, okay. Well, weirdly, we share a Twitter handle, which is @HighGreenDawn. I'm also HighGreenDawn on Instagram and Facebook, but Sean doesn't use the Facebook, so if you want to speak to him, you need to get into the Instagram off Twitter.
That's all I got, bro. I appreciate your time. Don't know why I just called you bro.
Cheers for having us on.
Yeah, man.
Always
it was a good time. It was a good time talking to you. I appreciate your time.
Cool. I hope you got stuff you can use, because I always worry that I just talk nonsense too much on this kind of thing.
You know what? I think at one point people stopped listening and were like, the fuck are they on about?
Yeah. That's my brand.
It's all good. It works for me. It works for me. We call us Dead Headspace for a reason. You don't need a brain to listen to the show.
Ace.
All right. Have a good one, man.
Have a good rest of your day, mate.
We are in your mind. We are all around. You are now leaving Dead Headspace.